Hi everyone, it's me Vijay again. I know that you're looking forward to a lot of those tutorials that are coming up for sari wrapping. We actually have 4 different styles. We have the traditional style, which is very similar to what I'm wearing, but we also have sari wrapping from North India, the Gujarati style. We also have West India, or the southern state of Karnataka. We have a Kurgi style. And then from East India, from the Bay of Bengal, we have West Bengali style of sari wrapping. Now you're wondering, there's that many different types? Actually, there's a lot more. We're only highlighting a few. Just like in India, where there's so many different languages spoken, guess what? People wear clothing very differently too, and it kind of showcases their unique style and diversity in India. So we're looking forward to that, but I thought, let me give you a few little tips on what you need to make sure that your sari wrapping tutorial goes perfect. Now, there are 5 things you need to do a proper sari wrapping. The first thing is a sari, which I'm wearing. And also I forgot to mention that with the sari, there's 2 ends to a sari. One is the side that you will actually tuck in first, and the other side is called the pallu. The pallu is the part that you put over your shoulder. Easy way to figure out which that is it'll have a different design on it at that end. So this end goes over the shoulder, so you'll tuck in the other end. The next thing that you're going to need is a petticoat. Now, a petticoat is just an underskirt that we put underneath the sari. Usually this petticoat comes in the same color that you're going to be wearing and has a drawstring top. Now, this top helps to cinch it in so that you can tuck in the sari with confidence. Now, say nowadays you can find petticoats online very easily or at Indian clothing stores in major metropolitan areas. Now, if you're not able to do that and you're kind of in a pinch, leggings actually work really well as too. But the problem is when you wear leggings, everything's tucked into and it's really hard to go to the restroom, but it'll still work in a pinch. So either one of those will work. The next thing we're going to need is a blouse. That's what you wear. Most saris come with blouses, and a lot of them are already pre-stitched. But if you don't have a blouse that's pre-stitched, you can buy them online. And this is a ready-made blouse. And usually I recommend if you're gonna buy a ready-made blouse, get it in a neutral color like black, cream, white, gold, or silver, because they tend to match with everything. And the next thing that we're going to need are safety pins. Safety pins is what's going to hold all this stuff together, especially the pleats that we create while we're draping it. This is also true for the head wrap, which is the pagdi, and for the dhoti. All of these things will require a few safety pins to keep everything in place. And the last thing that you're going to need with a sari wrapping is confidence. Confidence, number 1, that you can do this, and number 2, that you can walk around and actually feel very free. When you tie a sari correctly, it is actually very easy to walk in and it's super comfortable. So we hope that these tips, along with how to pleat, now same with the head wrap, the dhoti, and the sari, there's one key component that you're gonna need to know, and that is how to pleat. And that's what we're gonna do next. All right. So now we're going to learn how to pleat. This pleating is very important. People usually think a sari is just wrapped around and around, those 6 yards. If you did that, you couldn't be able to walk. So actually pleating creates the movement in the sari. So when you're walking, it's actually very easy to walk in. And number 2, the pleating actually helps to use up some of that fabric that we have. And typically in saris, you'll pleat the front part, as well as I'm wearing it down, but a lot of times people will also pleat the pallu as well, which is the part that goes over the shoulder, like I mentioned before. And so you can do it either way. You can either wear the sari like this or a thing. But for some of the other styles, pleating is pretty much required. So we want to be able to show you how to do that. So let me grab what I normally did when I was learning how to pleat a sari. I started by using a towel. Why do you think I used a towel? Is because it's really soft, it has an easy grip, and so it helped me learn to practice before I moved to maybe a silkier kind of a fabric that was really hard to do. So how we do it is you take the towel lengthwise, and then you're gonna put your hand in this position, usually typically your right hand. You have your thumb separated from your pointer finger, and then you have these 3 fingers. These 3 fingers and the thumb will actually act as a little bit more of a support. So you're gonna take the inside of the towel. Remember, this towel is lengthwise, and you're going to put the 3 fingers underneath, and you're gonna put your thumb behind. And then you're gonna use your pointer finger as a guide. So you're gonna put your pointer finger on the inside, and then you're going to move out, and then bring your thumb out. And then you're going to bring your pleat in and bring your finger in. And then you're going to bring it out, thumb out, in, pointer finger in, out, in, out, in, out. And guess what? You've just created the perfect pleats. So now you're ready to start your tutorials, and we hope that you enjoy, buy some clothing, and now you're going to know how to wear it. So we look forward to watching you and seeing you. Post your pictures on social media. Don't forget to tag us at VirtualiSA, hashtag DiwaliSA 2020. And of course, we just hope that you enjoy this virtual event that we're planning for you for the rest of the day. Take care. So our first sari wrapping will be the traditional sari, which you will see all over India. So let's get started. Okay, we have our model, Aarti Patel, and our draper, Ishita Patel. So as you can see, instead of the traditional petticoat, Aarti is wearing leggings, and we're going to start by tucking in the non-pallu side, which is the non-decorated side of the sari, in over the right hip into the leggings, and then we're slowly going to start tucking the sari as she turns, as she goes. If you notice that Ishita is tucking it in and watching the bottom of the sari to make sure that it's at least 1 to 2 inches above the ground. A good helpful tip is to make sure to wear the shoes that you're planning on wearing with the sari as you're draping it so that you can find the perfect height. And now she's going to tuck it in to the front, right where the belly button is. And she's going to take the pallu side, which is that more ornate decorated side, and start to make those pleats. If you remember in my intro, I taught you how to do those pleats. So we're just going to go back and forth, guiding the fabric on that short end to create nice, even pleats. And she's going to take those pleats, kind of adjust them to make sure that they're nice and equal. And then she's going to take that and take it around Aarti and drape it over her left shoulder. And she's going to kind of measure to see how long she wants the end of that sari to be. Some people prefer it a little bit longer, and some people prefer it just a little bit like mid-thigh, towards the back of the mid-thigh. So it's a personal choice. Sometimes saris are a little bit longer than 6 yards. If that's the case, then obviously you're going to have a longer pallu, and then you're going to have a few more pleats when we do the pleats. So I think that Ishita is happy with that length, so she's going to keep it there. If you'd like, at this point, you can also put a pin at the top of those pleats just to keep them in place, but she's just going to leave them as is because she wants to make sure that she can have a little bit of wiggle room in case she needs to change anything. Now, Ishita is going to go around and grab the remaining fabric, and she's going to start the pleats. So remember how we practiced in our intro video how to create those pleats. We're going to start at one end, and she's just going to do, remember, the finger, thumb, and just going back and forth. She's doing a little bit quicker, and trust me, as you start to put on a sari, you're going to become much more proficient in this. Now she's just making sure that everything is nice and straight and that the sari is not dragging on the floor, measuring, and then she's going to tuck right there where the belly button is, tuck in those pleats, and look how nicely that came about. So easy. And she's just going to adjust them to make sure that each pleat can be seen very nicely and making sure that it's not dragging on the floor as well. You might have a little bit extra sari there, but don't worry, we can definitely take care of that. And here she's going to, remember I told you you can either pin it there, but she just wanted to make sure that she was doing everything correctly. So she is actually going to replete that pallu. So she's starting on the short end. And as you see, she's going right back again, that back and forth motion. And it's pretty much a sari is just that. It's once you know how to pleat, the draping just happens. So get confident in that, and sari wrapping will be a breeze. And here she is just making sure that everything is nice and even and straight which I think is very important. Of course, if you do not want to pleat the pallu, you can also just pin it and let the pallu hang down, which I had done in the intro video, if you remember right before. If you can do it this way, this allows for a little bit more movement if you fold and do the pleats on that end, because now both arms are free. Usually if the sari is draping down over that left arm, it kind of does not allow as much free movement with both hands. So most women do prefer to have the pallu in the pleats up at the top. And so now Ishita is just taking a safety pin, taking those pleats and putting them right under on the underside with the blouse. As you can see, she's using a little bit larger safety pin, so it's a little bit easier. Now she's going to take that top pleat and just making sure each one is draped very nicely. Look how pretty that looks. And then she's going to take that top pleat and just take it around and just tuck it a little bit in the back to make sure it stays in place. And then if she has a little bit of extra fabric, what she's going to do is this is a fun little trick. You can just make another smaller little pleat and then add that to your other pleats. And there we go. And at this point, you can also take a little pin if you'd like, and another safety pin, and pin those pleats in place if you think that you're worried about them slipping or anything like that. And look how beautiful Aarti looks in her sari. Thank you, Aarti. Our next style of sari draping will be from the state of Gujarat. This is a unique style from the north of India, so let's watch and see how it's draped. Okay, and now we actually have Ishita Patel as our model, and Aarti is going to help drape it. So this sari wrapping starts very similar to the traditional style, which is that one end of the sari, the non-pallu side, is going to be tucked right over the right hip. And then as she's going around, she's going to tuck as she's going. And again, remember that we are going to wear our shoes that we are planning to do, and making sure that the sari is at least 1 to 2 inches above the ground, just so that you are not going to have any issues with tripping over that sari. And here she's going to continue doing that. As she comes around, she's going to start tucking, and remember, she stops right there where that belly button is, and then she's going to take the rest of that fabric, and this is where a little bit of there's going to be a change. So again, the same pleating is going to happen at the end of that sari. So she's going to start on that short end and start pleating again, like we just saw before, that front and back motion, feeding that sari in while the other hand grips it, holding those pleats in place. And there we go. Beautiful things. And so rather than putting the sari over the left shoulder, we're actually going to place this from the back over the right shoulder and dropping that pallu, or the end of that sari, to about mid-thigh. So this will allow, actually, that we'll later see a beautiful drape in the back as well as in the front. So here, Aarti is just making sure, she's just checking to make sure that she has the right amount of fabric. See, as she turns, we'll see she's just measuring to make sure, because she wants a slight drape right there. And she looks like she's pretty happy with that. So with that, once she knows that, then she's going to start our traditional pleating again, just like we did with the traditional sari. And so she's going to start there and make her pleats. And remember, like I told you before, the sari usually is 6 yards, but sometimes it could be a little bit shorter or longer. So your pleats you can average anywhere from 4 to 9 pleats, just depending on the sari and how many you can do. Now, if you also notice, look at their blouses that they're wearing. Ishita is wearing a nice long sleeve blouse, whereas Aarti is wearing a sleeveless blouse. I did mention that many saris come with ready-made blouses already stitched, but if they're not, then make sure that you can also order a sari blouse online. Or if you can't get a hold of that or don't feel comfortable ordering one, you can always wear a form-fitting t-shirt or even a beautiful blouse underneath, just so that you can either in a matching color or in a contrast color. So there are many varieties. So don't be scared if you think, oh, I don't have a blouse or I don't feel comfortable with it being a little bit shorter. You can wear what you feel comfortable with. And so here she's just making sure again to make that pleats nice and even and make sure that they are hitting the ground in just the right area. This it would be nice if you can, if it's your first time, if you have a friend, why don't you guys have a sari wrapping party and do this together? And so there she's tucking it in right there again at that belly button area. And because she wants to make sure, Aarti actually, if you notice her pleats, she's kind of separating them out slightly a little bit more. Some people do like to do that, kind of separating the pleats to kind of showcase it. Other people don't mind if the pleats are one on top of the other. And also the print that this sari is in is called a bandhani design. This is native to the state of Gujarat, where this style of sari wrapping also happens. So that's nice that they're able to present not only the sari style, but also the print of the sari from that state. And so it looks like Aarti is very nicely measuring everything out and putting those pleats just so nicely. And once you're happy with that, she's actually going to go ahead and then she's going to start adjusting the back as well to make sure that that drape that she's happy with is going to look just as beautiful from the front as it is from the back. And at this point, you can also, again, add a pin right there to the top of the pleats to make sure that they do not move anywhere. That, again, is a personal choice. Now she's going back, and now that she's happy with the front of the pleats, she's going back and doing that pallu again. So here, you're going to notice that these pleats are going to be just a little bit different than the traditional sari, in that when she does these pleats, we're going to showcase that right there, that last pleat should be facing away from the person wearing the sari. If you notice right here, and that top pleat is actually going to be facing towards her. So that edge of that top pleat can actually go across the front of the chest. So now look at how beautiful that drape is in the back. Isn't that lovely? And it really does help to showcase the beauty. So you're having this beautiful pleating from the front and this lovely draping from the back. And Aarti's just slightly adjusting it there to make sure that it looks just right. Right before she puts the pin on for the sari, she wants to make sure she's got the right length, and she's happy with that. And so here she's just adjusting it again, making sure those pleats are nice and straight, because the pleats are going to be in the front now and showcased, she wants to make sure that they're nice and even, and she's happy with where they're placed. Now she's going to go ahead and put a pin. So she's grabbing all those pleats and taking the blouse and then putting a nice large safety pin underneath. You know, the reason why they do that is obviously we don't want a safety pin to show. If you don't, you can also use a brooch, and that way you can have it on the top. That might be a little bit easier than using the safety pin. That is, again, a personal choice and something to make that sari your own. Now she's slowly separating those pleats again, as we see, separating them, making them really nice and even. And then so that they drape, and you see that top edge that she's taking, that top pleat, and she's going to slowly adjust that over, still adjusting those bottom pleats so they're still nice and even. And then she's going to take that sari edge right there, that pleat, and then she's going to actually pin it to the back of the sari. So once she's happy with that, which she is, and this is a wonderful way of wearing a sari. If you have a beautiful pallu, a really nice rich work right there to really showcase that. And there we go. Look how lovely Ishita looks. Oh, thank you, Ishita. Next, we move to the east coast of India and the state of West Bengal. And we have a beautiful sari, very, very unique draping. And actually, there's two different ways that we can do this draping. So let's watch and see.
Here we have Smita Bhattacharya, and she will be draping the sari today. And there she is wearing the traditional Bengali style of Indian sari draping. And here we have Mohua Banerjee, who will be our model. And she is wearing the traditional petticoat, which is the underskirt that we normally start with. And we're starting very traditionally, tucking the sari over the right hip and going around. And as we see, she's going around and just making sure, but instead of tucking that sari right at the belly button like we do for our traditional sari, she's actually taking it around and tucking it to the back. So right into the center of the middle of the back, which is very different. What you're also going to notice is there is very little pleating for this sari. So if pleating is becoming a little tough, or if you just want something unique and different, this is the sari wrapping for you. And here we see that Smita is slowly, again, measuring to make sure that sari is nice and even or a little bit above the floor length, and tucking as she goes around, securing that in that petticoat. And a petticoat is an A-line shape, so it gives a beautiful shape to the sari, especially a silk and thick sari like this one. And again, tucking again, making sure everything is nice and secure into that sari. Going around and just securing it and making sure that this sari is not going anywhere. And usually, if you don't have a petticoat, like we said, you can definitely use leggings, but the petticoat obviously makes it more easy to walk around. Now she's just taking that sari and draping it right over the left shoulder like a traditional sari. And here, what she's going to do is just take a pin. So if you notice, they completely bypass the pleating. So we're just going to pin it right there over the left shoulder, right there. And after she does that, this is going to be so much fun. Here, we do have a little bit of pleating. So she's just going to do slowly one pleat right there. And this is going to be a very loose pleating. It's not a little bit more formal like we did for the other ones. And then she's going to slowly, organically do another pleat and then a third pleat. And if you notice, the sari is going to be very loose and hanging. The bottom of that pleat is actually all the way to the ground. And so, but just barely over it, not skimming the ground, but right there. And here she's just going to put another pin there to secure those pleats in place. And after this is really a personal choice how you want to wear the Bengali style. So she's going to take that edge, and you can do one of two things. You can take that top corner and just about 2-3 inches over that shoulder, create that you're just going to pin it right there. Or if you don't want to do that, you can actually take that same corner and put it over your right shoulder, like Smita is wearing, who is our draper. But look at how beautiful that pallu is, that sky blue pallu on Mohua. So she really wanted to showcase that by having it draped right in front so we could see it. And again, it's a very loose pleat drape, just that corner. And look how beautifully that is showcased, especially if you have the pallu, which is that nice embroidered and it's a contrast color. This is the sari draping for you. And here you see she's just loosely kind of putting those pleats in a lovely way, very draped, very organic. And so easy.
Happy Diwali, San Antonio.
Thank you, Smita and Mohua. Our final sari draping comes from the southwest state of Karnataka and the Kurgi style of sari draping. Let's watch and see how it's done. Here we have Runmi Datta, who will be our model today and actually our draper as well. So she, unlike a traditional sari, she is actually starting the sari from the back. So she's tucking it in over her left hip and slowly tucking the sari in the back rather than traditionally starting in the front. And then she's just going to step right over, but she's doing this on her own and continues to tuck the sari as she goes around. Now she's stopping right there before she hits her left hip. And what she's going to do is actually start these pleats and then tuck them into the back of her sari rather than traditionally having them tucked into the front. The reason why they do this is in the area where Coorg is located is the part of the Western Ghats, which is a very hilly terrain. This mountainous region actually makes it very hard to get around. And so women found that the pleats in the front actually tripped and got in their way as they were climbing these steep slopes. So they decided to start making these pleats tucked into the back, allowing the front of the sari to be much easily accessible when climbing steep slopes. It's also said that women could actually climb trees very quickly with this style of sari because they were trying to run away from wild animals that they saw or encountered in the jungle. So that's a fun fact about, and it's amazing how women are ingenious and coming up with different ways to drape a traditional sari to meet their needs. And so here you see Ranmi again, taking those pleats, making sure she's holding on to where she thinks she needs to tuck them and tucking them right there into the middle of her back, right there in the middle of into her petticoats to make them nice and secure, tucking any little loose sari. And here she just takes the rest of the sari, now that she's tucked them into the back, and instead of putting it over her left shoulder, she's actually going to bring it under and pin it right there in the front before she moves on, just securing it so it stays in place, and then she's going to take it over her right shoulder. But guess what? Look, she realizes that it's a little too short. So this is a wonderful thing. There are no mistakes in sari wrapping. She simply removes the pin and gently will tug to release one of the pleats from the back. And look, she just has some more fabric now. So now she just moves forward. Again, repins that right there onto her sari blouse right there. Easy. And then we'll take it under and then right over her right shoulder and then pin it right there into the front. She's going to use a lovely little brooch to hold it in place because here you can really see it. And look how easy that is and so unique and different. Thank you, Ranmi, for such a beautiful sari draping from the state of Karnataka, the Kurgi style of sari draping.
Happy Diwali, everyone.
Now that we've seen 4 different styles of sari draping, we can't forget the men. So now we're actually going to showcase how to drape a dhoti, which is a draped trouser usually used during festivals and during religious ceremonies and worn by men. So I'm so excited to show you this. So let's get started. Here we have Sonal and Nitesh Jain, and Sonal is draping the dhoti material, which is about 15 feet long of material, and you can usually find dhoti material online. She's going to hold it in place, and then she's going to ask Nitesh to grab 2 handfuls right there. If you see on either side of that drape, he's going to grab it, and then evenly, and then do a double knot right there on the center, a nice tight thing, because that will create the waistline for the dhoti. So easy, right? And then once that's done, he's going to take that material using on his left side, and you can see he's just wearing a pair of shorts underneath there. So very easy to do. And now he pulled it between his legs, and she's going to take the short end of that material and just again, pleats back and forth, and creating this nice, beautiful, even pleats. And then she's just going to take that, tuck it right into the back. And look how easy that was to create already one leg of this draped trouser. So easy. And then she's just going to ask him to turn around. And again, we're going to take the right side this time. Again, pleating back and forth, just like a sari. And then she's going to take those pleats and tuck it right into the front, right there. And then now she's taking that bottom portion of the thing because it's dragging on the floor. And again, just taking it, pleating it back and forth. This is the inside of that dhoti. She just took that. And again, look at how beautiful that came out. And again, just a quick tuck. And guess what? You have ready-made pants. What a great dhoti. He's just going to pull off his top. That's a nice short kurti top. You can also wear a longer tunic at the top as well. And look how nice Nitesh looks. All ready for Diwali. Thank you, Nitesh, and thank you, Sonal, for doing such a great job.
Happy Diwali.
And we can't finish any outfit for a man without addressing a beautiful headpiece. So next, we're going to learn how to do a head wrapping called a Pagdi. It's also sometimes called a safa. And so let's learn how to do it. Here we have Ansh Chakatimat and his mother Purnima, who will be doing the Pagdi wrapping. So here she's taking about 18 inches, almost 2 feet of this fabric. It's around 3 yards or so. And she's going to ask him to hold it while she's turning it. If you notice, she's just creating like a little covering over it as she twisted it. She twisted it about a couple of times behind his head and then covers it. And then again, there's a lot of twisting here. It's a lot of clockwise twisting. So if you notice, she's just kind of measuring a little bit left to his forehead, the center, and she's moving it just a little bit to the left of that. And she's going to twist, twist, twist to create a lip almost on one side, if you notice that. And then she's going to turn it around again. And then again, creating the lip on the other side. And again, clockwise, clockwise twisting. Very simple. And then once she's finished over there and she's happy with that, she's going to go around one more turn, this time covering a little bit more of the head as she goes around. And again, and some clockwise twisting again. If you're interested in actually finding the material that they used for this, you can actually contact us on social media, or you can email us and we can get you in contact with Purnima, who actually sells these. And all of the proceeds actually goes to Seva International's Hygiene for the Girl Child. And they were able to install 18 bathrooms in rural India for young girls. And so it's a wonderful thing. All of this money goes to that. See, if you notice her material, she already has pleating that was ironed and starched. So it creates this beautiful fan-like design at the end. Of course, you can do this yourselves. And she's just using some safety pins to hold down that design. Look how quickly and easily this came together. And if you notice again, that the part right there is just a little bit to the left of Ansh's head, kind of giving this asymmetrical look rather than in the beginning. Same with the fan. You can either make it dead center in the top of the head, but it looks like Purnima's here is just doing it on the side to give it this just beautiful little look right there. And look how lovely that fans out. And using that little bit of starch and that nice stiff pleating really gives it a beautiful royal look. And then she's going to pin it again with a safety pin right there in the center to make sure it stays nice and thin. And that rest of that shawl will just be over his left shoulder very nicely.
Wishing you all a very happy Diwali.